Greetings, everyone. It's great to be with you. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for all you're doing in terms of learning, growing, and being of service. I much appreciate these opportunities to learn with you. Today's topic is entitled On the Laws of Life 16, the Law of Impersonality. The weekly studies and exercise of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC equipped us for the mastery of life and greater service. One of the important laws of life that helps us to extend our capacity in these matters is the law of impersonality. While the personal touch is much appreciated by the outer self, the great work through the inner self applies this law to cultivate and sustain unconditional caring, mature discernment and action, fair-mindedness, and the radiation of love. To help us in this regard, I want to share with you now a particular image that comes down to us over the centuries. You'll see now an image of a very inspiring nature. It's actually from the Cleveland Museum of Art. It's the figure of Gayen, a bodhisattva Gayen, and it's from the late 500s, early 600s CE in China. And it's from sandstone and it's polychromy that you can actually look closely. You'll still see some fragments of paint that are still there from over the centuries. The figure is about 54 and 5/8 inches tall or high, and it has a very elaborate design on it. Now, I know many of you are familiar with the Bodhisattva figure and the Bodhisattva vow. The Rosicrucian Order AMORC is not a religion, but its teachings allow us to have a much deeper understanding of all things, including how spirituality is expressed uh, through the various religions of the world and philosophies of the world and so forth. Now, you'll see the figure too is very elaborately carved. We've got the standing frontal view here. Not uncommon in stone statues over the centuries that they may lose parts such as the hands or the part of the arms as we have here, but I'll show you some possible ways they would look from closely associated works. If we take another view up here from the back, you'll see that it's carved on the back, which indicates that it was intended to be seen in the round, all around it. So it would been originally not in a museum, of course, but it would have been in a temple complex or in a monastic complex, and be various other deities or figures associated with Buddhism that would be around it that would form like a pantheon of teachings and spiritual understanding. You'll notice as we go around too, here's a view from the side, a very elegant, very well carved work in sandstone. Now, if we come around further, back to where we are, I'll draw some parallels with some other works of art to give us a deeper understanding that would then will help us enter more deeply in our topic of the law of impersonality, and also help us to ascend to the heights of the celestial sanctum when we were about in the meditation exercise we're about to do. In the upper left, there's a figure from a similar time period in China. We'll see a marble figure of Amit Tabha, the Lord of the Western Paradise, one of the manifestations of the Buddha. You see standing on a lotus, the unfolding of all the spiritual qualities. Rising up from the various trials and tribulations of life in the muddy water, the beautiful white lotus comes forward, just like we work in our own lives. You'll see the figure in the upper left is very calm, serene, has a monastic robe. It's very light, suggesting the great radiations of light from this divine being. There's the elongated ears that both earlobes that figures have, suggesting that heavy earrings were hung from the ears, elongating them because they were royal or sovereign figures. Again, these are spiritual motifs we're working throughout with the law of suggestion here for our own divine realization of the divine sovereign within us, the master within, the divine within, the inner self, to use Rosicrucian terminologies. But these are universal experiences that the artists and the carvers here would have been passing on to us. Both figures have great serenity, tranquility, calmness, imperturbability that we'll enter into when we ascend to the heights of the celestial sanctum. We'll see even closer up now, Gayen, and you'll see the more elaborate carving that's on it. The association with being a royal figure is one that we are to be sovereigns. We are to be guided by the inner sovereign within ourselves. A bodhisattva is a being that is chosen at the end of its cycles of incarnation on earth, has learned all the lessons of life, but has chosen not to go to leave the contact with beings on earth. Will again apply with great compassion for our well-being and assistance through mercy and compassion that were associated with Gayen. There's many stories of a sacred nature associated with her. In fact, you'll see lower down here is a flying aspara that's part of the stories, and often an attendant assisting Buddhas and bodhisattvas. It's from a similar time period to give you a sort of a closer view of what it would look like. You see in here our figure of Gayen, she's robed with these things, just like in a way we're robed with our ennobling lessons in life. Going further on this matter, we can see in the central mid-body section of Gayen, you can see there's Chai Lin, and Chai Lin is a figure that could take on the forms of a dragon, but also other creatures combined together, and was often said to be seen or manifest in the presence or the coming of a great sovereign or a great spiritual being or a bodhisattva. So befittingly on the robe here. The image I've given you is from a much later, but it gives you the same essential symbolism iconography over time. Similarly, you'll see the hand gestures I referred to earlier. I've given you an image here that's also an image of Gayen from polychrome wood figure from a later period, but it gives you a sense of the hand gestures that would have been passed down through the centuries. Often, Gayen, when in her right hand, would be raised to the shoulder level with the palm facing outward and the fingers in that abhaya mudra, a gesture of fearlessness and protection, something we all need to develop within ourselves, and through the law of impersonality assists in that. Sometimes you'd also be shown holding an object like a wish-fulfilling jewel. In her left hand, usually just extended downwards, like we're seeing in the later wood sculpture beside it, and away from the body, facing outward. The fingers would be in the Varada mudra, a gesture of granting boons or compassion. Or sometimes the bodhisattva would hold a lotus stalk or clutch a long necklace. Further, in terms of the symbolism to assist us in our meditation, you notice very much up in the headdress and crown of Gayen that there's a seated Buddha figure. And there we see from around the same time period, I've given you a sculpture that we see seated on a lotus, and the hands in the mudras that I just described earlier. And again, as a monastic figure, the wondrous aura or halo around this enlightened being, the Buddha. And you can see the bodhisattva partakes of the Buddha, the enlightened state, and that would be suggested by that in the crown. Similar in a way with all these inspiring images, we're seeing ourselves. We're seeing ourselves as a spiritual being. We're seeing ourselves having experienced the cosmic we're about to do, but then emulating it, expressing it in compassion, rising above the cares of the day, be able to see and understand and act with others in compassion and in service. These are things that we're all called to universally throughout the ages and throughout the various places on the temple of the earth. So let us get prepared now for our meditation, having been inspired by the stone sculpture, the Cleveland Museum of Art, and its serene and deeply human, but also in a way beyond the personal, into the impersonality that has infused our way of life as Rosicrucian students in attaining the rose quartz state or the enlightened Buddha state. Here I'll show you the image on the left in a full body view, but then a close-up of this figure. Ian would take over the periods of Buddhism various genders, in a way transcends gender. Often these Chinese sculptures suggestive of the female or the divine feminine form. But it's one that's very serene, very compassionate, very loving, and very kind, which are qualities that we are developing as students maturing on the path. So I invite you at this time to join me in a period of meditation, and then we'll get more elaborating on our subject matter. The Rosicrucians are very practical, so let's have a first-hand experience of the law of impersonality and various other important laws associated with it that have been exemplified by this wondrous and beautiful work of sculpture. I invite you at this time to close your eyes and let go of the cares of the day. And just enjoy the gentle rhythm of the breath. And however you're situated, seated or standing up or otherwise, what's particularly valuable is if you can be comfortable and you can breathe in an unencumbered way. And just enjoy the gentle rhythms of the breath, the great incoming and great outgoing of the breath. In a way, this is the way the universe was created, through the outgoing of the breath of the divine, speaking in symbolic terms. Just as we were created moment by moment through breathing, we're made anew. Let's let go of the past and let go of the future. And let's be in the present. Like the eternal presence of the Gayan Bodhisattva. Like the divine eternal presence of the Master within us, our true guide in nature and life. No matter what's going on in our life right now, I invite you just to let go. If you've had a challenging day, a day now roughed up, some in need of soothing, or we've had an inspiring and uplifting, joyous day, just let go. I assure you we'll come back all the more competent, all the more able to handle what needs to be done. And if it's comfortable for you, I invite you to breathe deeper than you usually do, taking deeper breaths. And furthermore, to extend your exhalation longer than your inhalation to the degree it's comfortable for you. You may wish to use the octave for breathing in a way as a form of music, just like all the actions of our being and vital organs form of wondrous harmonious music. And breathe out twice as long as you're breathing in. But whatever is comfortable, one of the things special about that extended exhalation is you'll find that you automatically experience the relaxation response each time. And with each extended exhalation relative to the inhalation, you'll feel that building or cumulative effect of the tranquility, the serenity that we experienced with the Buddhist sculpture. Dating back over 14 centuries. But it's with us afresh, anew now, as we transcend space and time. And with each incoming breath, you may wish to experience the increasing presence of the divine within. the master within, always there to guide us, to know us, to be us, to enrich us. And while its nature in certain ways is beyond the personal or the personality, its impersonal nature, its impersonality, at the same time infuses us with great kindness, compassion, sense of well-being. It can be very personalized in our lives, in our personal contact with others. In this way, we work with the law of duality, just as we work with it in our incoming breath and our outgoing breath, the two poles. We work with the impersonality and the personality. I think you'll find also along these matters that your breath is, as you extend it, you'll find that your heart is slowing up. It's working more efficiently. It's taking longer breaks between beats. Just like the adage of the alchemy, as above, so below. Our heart exemplifies for us as it takes breaks, so we need to take breaks. And yet we can work just as efficiently. We'll also find that we're coming into autonomic balance. That is, there's a balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems that we do many exercises on and have many experiences of through our Rosicrucian studies and applications. And when we move towards that autonomic balance, the way like two handlebars steering down a street like a bicycle, we have on our left side and right side the two nervous systems. We're guiding them and balancing them. And when they come into a perfect balance, it's a state of enlightenment like that of the bodhisattva we saw, or the Buddha figure. And then we experience our true divine nature, a rose qua state, to use a Rosicrucian terminology. All these things and more are part of the great riches that are available to us. And make them a way of life. It's part of the great unlearning and learning and living. Part of the great adventure in living. As we stay in the present, concentration on the breath. We let go the illusion of the past, the illusion of the future, and move more into the eternal now. Past, present, and the future are in a way necessary illusions. These illusions are necessary for us to learn, but then we transcend them. Feeling this enriching present, eternal now, we're more able to look back our memory of the past, and assess it and learn from it, and let go of any regret, for all was necessary to be who we are now, in the great growing up that is mysticism. And at the same time, being in the present, we no longer indulge in anticipatory anxiety. We can plan in the present's best for the future. And we can visualize what we wish manifest in the apparent future. In this way and other ways, we let go of unnecessary stress and anxiety and can be more fully ourselves. Let go more of who we are not. And in so doing, great energy is released. Just like we sensed in those Buddhist sculptures in their radiant presence. Indeed, a human being is a being of great radiant light, not for our self-aggrandizement, for our selfless development, and service and healing for ourselves and others. Now let us apply the instructions of a key Rosicrucian document, the booklet Liber 777, that I'll give you resources on towards the end of this session today. I invite you to continue to follow the discipline of your breath. And before we begin this ascent to the heights of the celestial sanctum, let's continue to apply the law of purification as we've done through our breath, but also through the following prayer and invocation. I invite you to say with me. May the divine essence of the cosmic cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body, that I may commune with the celestial sanctum. May my mortal consciousness be so enlightened that any imperfections of my thinking may be revealed to me. And may I be given the power of will to correct them. I humbly petition that I may perceive the fullness of nature and partake thereof, ever consistent with the cosmic good. So mote it be. Now let us sense ourselves through all our senses, be through the visual sense, through our inner emotional sense, our spiritual nature, ourselves rising up above wherever we're seated or lying down, up over our home or house or other building, up over our neighborhood, rising up faster and faster. Now up over our city or local geographic area, town or village. And now up over our county and even our province or state. Now going faster and faster, enjoying the exhilaration of the ascent, up over our great nation or country, and seeing below the great weather systems, the system and order, the landforms, the water systems, and more. So we radiate love and well-being down to all those below us. So we keep rising up higher and higher, up over now our continent and even the hemisphere where we dwell. And now we take in the beautiful blue jewel of the earth, the temple of the earth, great sphere rotating about its axis, and seeing the beautiful satellite, the moon, revolving about the earth. As we look up, we'll rise higher and higher past the planets, our local star and the sun, out beyond the reaches of our solar system. As we go way beyond the speed of light, as we transcend space and time, moving from the finite plane to the infinite plane. From our outer nature to our inner nature. Let us enjoy the exhilaration of the ascent on past myriad stars and nebula and quasars and pulsars, rogue planets and asteroids and black holes balancing the universe, and even out beyond the great arm of the Milky Way galaxy, rotating about its axis, and looking back at the galaxy, our home, and then up at the other galaxies and the stars and the nebulae as we rise higher and higher to the heights of the celestial sanctum, going faster and faster and appreciating and enjoying the harmony of the spheres, the wondrous music of the spheres, resonating deep within our being and throughout the universe, like a great sounding musical instrument. As we pass the myriad galaxies, I think at some point you'll start to sense that even the universe is rotating about a great axis, just as our galaxy rotates about its axis. And the moon rotates about the earth, and the earth rotates about its axis. And our lives rotate about the holy temple, our body's spine. And just as the Buddha seated and standing bodhisattva figures are like great axes on which all existence revolves, let us move closer and closer to that great cosmic axis, sensing the stupendous and harmonious action of the universe, rotating like a great top. As we go faster and faster, way beyond the speed of light, sense the midpoint of the great cosmic axis and speed towards it. And when you reach it, just dwell there in stillness and take in with awe and wonderment the great beauty, the system and order of the cosmos. And also sense what the Rosicrucians referred to as the cosmic, the universal intelligence, increasingly experiencing back of the cosmos, and all the natural and spiritual laws, principles that are back of the cosmos and helping with the operation of the cosmic. Let us experience all these things and now more in silent receptivity. Further following the spiritual operations of the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC. I invite you now to further follow the instructions of the booklet Liber 777, and you may wish to visualize your personal celestial sanctum. It may be an inspiring temple back on earth, or maybe an inspiring place in nature back on earth, or maybe simply the temple of the cosmos all about you, suggestive of the divine temple. Feel in the sights and sounds, the psychic impressions, the emotions, the exhilaration of being within your sacred space, your celestial sanctum. You may wish to picture inspiring stained glass windows or other works of art depicting Rosicrucian laws and principles. You may wish to picture incense rising up just like we rose up to the heights of the celestial sanctum, applying the law of transmutation, moving from the material to the immaterial. You may wish to visualize or sense the presence of all those on this conference call with us, in the presence of the Grand Masters, the Imperator of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC, who may be conducting a sacred convocation at this time. In the presence of the visible and invisible masters. And when you're ready, just release your mental creation of your personal celestial sanctum, saying, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. And let us dwell in silence in the celestial sanctum, at this high point of consciousness, at the center of the cosmos, the center of our being, in the presence of the divine within. Just feel all there is to feel. Be receptive to any impressions that come to you, but stay in the eternal now and let go, let be, let flow, surrender to the divine within. In surrendering, being receptive, you apply the law of impersonality and the law of humility. So necessary to evoke the law of cosmic attunement. And in this state of cosmic attunement, let us now apply the law of service, each law assisting and building on the other. I invite you now to join in the work of the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace, the Grand Lodge of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC. And let us radiate from the depths of our minds and hearts love and well-being to all those who have petitioned the Grand Lodge of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC for guidance and healing. Let us radiate love and well-being to all those who petition the Rosicrucian Order AMORC's affiliated bodies for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those you know are in need of guidance and healing. And finally, let us radiate love and well-being to all sentient beings throughout the cosmos who are in need of guidance and healing. Just let love and well-being flow out like a great searchlight from the depths of your being through the assistance of the divine within, like a great flowing water, filling the cosmos, reaching all in need, moving out at a tremendous speed. It's like we rose to the heights of the celestial sanctum with great rapidity. Increasingly, I think you'll find you need to make less and less conscious effort for the radiations of love and well-being. Let the divine within proceed as it knows best. And I think you'll even find the radiations of love and well-being speed up, and you know you're reaching those in need. And when this happens, just surrender to the flow. Soon we'll formally close this period of sending metaphysical aid, assured that it will continue from the depths of our being as a way of life and as part of our mission in life. And in the spirit of the Bodhisattva Yan statue that we admired and were inspired by, and the work of the visible and invisible masters. To formally conclude this period of the work of the Silent Council, in conjunction with the Council of Solace, I invite you to say with me now, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done, so mote it be. And let us dwell a while longer at the heights of the celestial sanctum. Feeling re-energized, remade, rested, all the more ready for the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC now and always. Before we begin our descent from the heights of the celestial sanctum, I invite you to apply the law of gratitude. Experience and radiate our thanks to all those who have taught us well, to all those who have loved us well, and to all those who have sacrificed well on our behalf. Now let us begin our descent from the heights of the celestial sanctum. This high point of consciousness that we'll take with us to guide us, to infuse our being, to fully identify with in oneness. Let us begin our descent now, moving at tremendous speed and rapidity past the myriad galaxies, past the cosmic web connecting the galaxies and planets, myriad stars and stellar phenomena, the quasars and pulsars. Enjoying the exhilaration of the descent, sensing again the harmony of the spheres, the great music of the cosmos, and seeing the distance, the great spiraling arms of our home, the Milky Way galaxy, as we plunge into the arm where we dwell, past myriad stars, and nebula, comets, and asteroids, and planets. And see way in the distance as we rapidly approach it, the solar system, its beautiful elliptical orbits of the planets. Our local star, the fiery ball of the sun, the oblate spheroid of the earth, the temple of the earth. As we return to it, the hemisphere where we left off, the continent where we left off, our great nation, our country, our province or state, our county, our local geographic area, city, village, or town, our neighborhood. Before we conclude, I invite you to say with me again, following prayer and invocation. May the God of my heart sanctify this attunement of self with the celestial sanctum. So mote it be. Let us continue to descend back on the house or home or building where we left off, back in the room or place where we were, however we're situated, being remade, rejuvenated, regenerated, tuned with the cosmic, feeling increasingly the presence of our true divine nature and guide, the master within. And when you're ready, you may wish to stretch, move the hands and the toes, and open your eyes, and we'll continue with our presentation. Thank you very much, everyone. Now, on this topic of the law of impersonality, Well, we've said the personal touch is much appreciated by the outer self. And we much appreciate things being personal and personalized for us. Why then this stress on the law of impersonality then? Indeed, the law of impersonality can also be described as the law of detachment. Describe that as getting the big picture, rising above immediate circumstances to know how to act in a manner that is helpful for all involved. And then the personal and the personality are well applied and engaged in a harmonious manner. Indeed, personality and personality both have their great value. What is needed is to apply the law of balance so we have the right amounts of them, and that the personality and the personal learn from the personality and the impersonal, and vice versa, in a way that's associated with our outer self, learning from the inner self, being guided by the inner self, being enriched and noble, but also the inner self learning, being conveyed impressions for our outer nature. Then there's this beautiful uh, reinforcing circle in terms of learning and growing between the outer and inner nature. Applying the law of duality, the law of polarity. And ultimately that leads to application of law of unity. We transcend and see things as one in full maturation. Now, we're using the term impersonality in a constructive sense that actually helps uplift and guide the personal in the development of our personality. It's guided by the wisdom of the master within, the divine within. The Rosicrucians also have an additional term, the soul personality, that we learn about in our weekly lessons. That is what the soul personality is, what is evolving and growing and learning within our nature. So it can increasingly reflect the one soul. It's like polishing a mirror over time as we learn the lessons of life. Now, in this matter, I think you'll recognize if you're a supervisor at work, or if you're a parent or you have some other leadership role, that it's important not to play favorites or show favoritism. And in that, there's an application of law of impersonality. And in that fairness, there's a greater love and respect shown to others. Also, a lot of these things I'm mentioning, indeed, most of life can seem a tall order for our outer self when it operates without the working with and being encouraged by the inner self. However, the great work through the inner self that we came into contact with in our meditation period, and as we apply the virtues and various laws and principles of the Rosicrucians, allow us to cultivate and sustain through the law of impersonality, unconditional caring, mature discernment and action, as I've mentioned, fair-mindedness, and the radiation of love, similar to what we did from the heights of the celestial sanctum. See, the cosmic, we talked about earlier, operates beyond individual personalities, yet it will assist us to deeply understand our needs and the needs of others, and assist us in being greatly loving in both personal and impersonal ways. The law of impersonality allows us to transcend in order to take into account all that is needed in any given situation for the benefit of all through the wisdom of the master within. Now, there's many different degrees of development in impersonality or detachment. And these things are gradually we learn through the lessons of life. And this detachment allows us to stand back from situations, in a sense, symbolically rise above ourselves and others, and see and assess how the outer self is operating and how we can improve and increasingly identify with our divine nature. In fact, this form of application of law of personality, in a way, takes the form of a very deep and esoteric doctrine, and it has great beauty. But it's very important that it's become a factor in our practical life. The Rosicrucians are very practical. That's why we had that period of meditation to experience these things firsthand. as we purify, there's symbolically moving deeper and deeper within different stages of the degrees of the Rosicrucian Order, past the different temple degrees, or move symbolically deeper and deeper into the temple of life, into the Holy of Holies. We're more and more able to apply the law of impersonality and the law of humility, help vault us into the law of cosmic attunement as we applied in meditation. Now, as in all things in mysticism, by that we mean the great growing up, the great evolvement, consciousness, the art and science of love, the direct experience of existence, being one with the one. Is that in application and in service, we come to know and live the laws and principles and come into the most well-grounded and deepest spirituality. I spoke earlier about unconditional caring. That's something that requires the inner self to sustain. The outer self, in its best intentions, may try to sustain it, but things will come up and challenge it, and it needs the strength and fortitude and a larger picture and universal understanding of the master within to sustain that. The law of cosmic attunement and the law of personality will assist in that. So then we can be all the more caring, no matter what others say and do. And they'll have that great reassuredness in our presence. Also, the importance I referred to of mature discernment and action. That we need to draw on the deepest maturity in ourselves, not our pet peeves, not our personal likes and dislikes, but that wise inner guidance that we have in ourselves. That applies again, the law of impersonality, the law of cosmic attunement. And when that floods into our nature, we'll be all the more loving and kind, and people will have a great sense of the personal touch intensified through us. Also, fair-mindedness, that we don't play favorites, that we don't allow our particular conceptions or misconceptions to cloud our understanding of others, and we're open to learn. And thereby, if we're in a position of making a decision, we can be fair. We can follow our conscience more easily through this application of law and personality and the law of cosmic attunement. Also, through these laws, we're able to radiate love. In a way, it's a radiating of love. It's like the great mystic Rumi said, that it's an unblocking, so the flow can go out just like we did earlier. We come into that deeper and deeper sense of what it is to be a human being at one with the one, increasingly identified with the divine. We don't lose our personality, but it infuses it, just like an analogy of a sponge soaking up water. Our outer nature is like the sponge, that love and that expression of the cosmic is like the water soaking up. Similar like an iron in a blacksmith shop. Use an analogy from earlier centuries, still done today, is like being heated up and pounded to experience. The iron is transformed, changes colors, but it still keeps its nature as an iron, but it's now infused with great love and well-being through the law of impersonality and law of cosmic attunement. And then it can be all the more personal, all the more loving, in all the individual ways that we're called to be. Part of the value of impersonality, as I mentioned earlier, is to rise above any dogmatic understanding we have, that we're always open to learn from whoever, anywhere, anytime. And that way, the law of humility works closely with the law of impersonality. This also helps us in healing. We have the special surface. We can contact the Council of Solace, and there's some booklets that'll give you some information on helping that. But it behooves us also that when we're in challenging circumstances that impinge on our personality a lot, maybe a close loved one, that we let go and we go to our home sanctum, we apply the law and personality to rise up into the cosmic, and we'll get a sense when the love and well-being flowed into the person for healing. And also to apply this at any time, and we go to our affairs when we see others that are in need of healing and guidance. And that way, we deeply listen, are very sensitive. We temporarily let go of our needs for the well-being of others. And in so doing, our needs will be more and more taken care of in this fashion. Similarly, law of impersonality applies for positions of leadership, as I've mentioned, for example, in the Rosicrucian Order officers. We need to be fair and impartial in fulfilling our duties and guidelines. Not do our own thing, but rather to work in an inspired manner in harmony with the time-tested rules and guidelines of our organization and our affiliate bodies, our lodges and chapters and pranayai. In a similar fashion, the Rosicrucian Order AMORC doesn't stress personalities, and that is an application of law and personality. Generally because we're all growing and learning on this earth plane, and that we may be exemplary in our thoughts, words, and deeds, but we may not be exemplary in all ways. For we are still on this earth plane learning and evolving. And this is a sobering realization why it is best to look to the guidance of the Master within as central in our life. Those that inspire us are so inspiring because of their contact with the Master within. Also, we need to ensure that through the law of impersonality, that our positions and office in life, to use a colloquial expression, don't go to our head. Once that happens, we're thrown onto the limited resources of the outer self, not the unlimited resources of the Master within or the inner self. If we do the former, we'll then be operating only with the objective mind and the subjective mind, and to some extent, the subconscious mind. To think of the Rosicrucian schematic diagrams, some of you will recall from your lessons of a weekly nature in the Rosicrucian Order, will not be with, crucially, in our realizations, the cosmic mind. However, when we're receptive to the cosmic, like when we rose up to the heights of the cosmic mind, then we'll be working with the Master within, the inner self, and the various laws we discussed, such as the law of impersonality, the law of cosmic attunement, the law of service. Now, in all these matters, I know there can be the allure of shortcuts, but we need to stay the course, allow the building cumulative effect of our Rosicrucian studies and applications to occur. And then over the weeks and the years, a great transmutation and transformation and transfiguration takes place. Not again for our self-aggrandizement, for the well-being of all. And being then will be fully personalized, but fully applying love and personality. Now, in all these matters, we've discussed about how the law of gratitude will intensify the application of the law of cosmic attunement, and that how we need to apply the law of balance to get the right blend of the personal and the impersonal. They both inform each other, and they both have their constructive, positive expressions. In this matter, it reminds me of our Imperator Claudio Mazzucco, who has emphasized to us that we each are individually important to him, and that he hopes that we see him as important to us. And we see in that the personal connection leads to a transcendent experience that is impersonal and brings us even more to bring or express love in the world. Even early on in our Rosicrucian studies, you recall, we're encouraged to see ourselves in a class with other students learning together with the class master. That reassuring personal perspective allows us to ascend into the impersonal and transcendent, to bring those fruits back into enrich the personal. Also, during our meditation today and other times when we ascended to the heights of the celestial sanctum, we may see ourselves taking part in a mystical convocation conducted by the Imperator and Grand Masters of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC. I know you've asked about. This deep and personal connection then allows us again to move into the impersonal and transcendent and gain insights and strength and love to assist the outer self, ourselves and all others. See, the outer self needs to cooperate with the inner self, not look for recognition, thanks, or understanding from others. To that requires the application of law and personality. Similar in our life, by example, if we're sometimes asked for advice, we need to apply the law of impersonality to rise above our personal likes and dislikes, to see the matter of concern from the other person's perspective, and see what lessons and experiences we have that pertain to the matter, and not resort to quoting what others have said, but rather tailoring our answer to the inquirer's circumstances to the degree we have listened well, been sensitive, have the needed knowledge, and have been inwardly directed by the cosmic. Past Imperator H. Spencer Lewis encouraged us to see ourselves as leaders in our chosen field. To do that, we need to see the big picture beyond the personal. I think many of you recall in this matter the Rosicrucian adage, dare to do, and the strength will be given unto you. That, in other words, allow the expansive understanding, encouragement, and vitality within us to come forward and infuse us by letting go of our current personal conceptions. The law of impersonality allows us to enter into a grasp of the totality and then guide our personal circumstances with that perspective. Before I conclude, I'll ask at this time Karen to post in the chat some resources for you that you may wish to follow up on in addition to the weekly lessons of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC. And also to upload a PDF that have all those resources in them, which and I think you'll find it easiest to download to get all the resources at once. So by way of conclusion, I'll mention that we've been considering the laws of life, and particularly the law of impersonality, and that our weekly lessons of the Rosicrucian Order equip us for mastery and greater service. And one of the important laws of life is the law of impersonality. And that while we greatly appreciate the personal touch in living the outer self, the great work of our inner self, the divine within applies this law to cultivate and sustain unconditional caring, mature discernment and action, fair-mindedness, and the radiation of love. In this matter, we continue to explore Rosicrucian laws and principles for their creative application and expression in living daily. Thank you.